Hello everyone. Am I audible? Can somebody confirm this?
Hello, sir. Yes, you are audible. Good afternoon.
Okay, thanks. Good afternoon. Welcome to the session. Welcome after, quite a long time, right? So this is out of the order, not regular session, but an important one because we see a lot of queries coming on to this course relate to various aspects of the project. So we'll be trying to discuss some of it, and we'll try to clear some of your queries and the confusions that you might have faced during going through the question statement. All right. So, okay. So I think this is how we are going to have it now. I'll try to present the screen and go through the question statement that we have. Okay. And while going through the question statement, I'll try to give a brief explanation of what we expected with the project, and then you can go ahead with asking your queries regarding particular point that you did not understand or facing issues with. Okay. So yeah, just give me a minute. Okay, so is the screen visible, right? Are you able to see the
Yes,
Kanban app?
yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thanks. All right, so the name of the project, or I mean, this is not the actual official name, but this you can name the application anything. But this is something that we thought should be the appropriate name of what we wanted to create as an application. Okay, so this is a Kanban application. Okay, what we need to do with the application is something we'll see. Okay, so for creating this application, we'll definitely be needing some frameworks, right? So one is definitely the Flask, because we have studied the entire course using the Flask. Okay, we have used Jinja 2 templates, and Bootstrap for HTML generation and styling is something which is dependent on you on what level you want to go with styling. Okay, definitely we'll be dealing with data. So we'll be using SQLite database. Yeah, we also have other databases like MySQLite, okay, MySQL and PostgreSQL, but we thought of going with a simple one. That's why a lightweight database is something that we recommend here. So we will definitely go with SQLite database, right? And every one of you may have worked along with things like Replit, and although we encourage you to use platforms like Replit, you can go ahead with your project with simple, or what we say, the local IDs like VS Code and Sublime Text, because we have done a lot of solve with instructor sessions on all of three, right? We have used Replit also. We have done we have used VS Code, and we have also used Sublime Text. So that is something you can decide based on how comfortable you are with our particular ID, right? So this is about the frame. Okay, so now I'll start giving a brief explanation on what actually we want, right? So consider an application that has something called as a dashboard where you can see, track, log, delete, and take care of your tasks, right? So how do you do that? It should be like a profile page, right? You have, so whenever you log in an application, you see your profile. Okay, so profile is a user specific information that gives you the information of what all things that are there in a particular profile. Your personal information like your name, your whatever, like profile picture and stuff. Okay, so what do we expect on a dashboard? So we expect there are multiple lists. Okay, there are multiple lists. Now, what do these lists include? So it would include some basic information of the list, right? So what that basic information can be, it can be simple ID name. Okay. Now, why do we need ID? ID is something that is relevant to databases. But what is important for us as a user? Name, right? So we need to take care of fields that are required in terms of accessing data from the database, and we need to look at the fields that are required in terms of understanding or user interaction, right? So that's why we find that for a list, ID and name should be relevant data or fields that you should create in the list model. Okay. So apart from this, now as I said, there is a profile, right? So now profile has an information. Where do you store that information? So for that, you should have, you should create a user model. Okay, a user model is something that will store information about the user. Okay, what needs to be added as a fields for user model is something that you have to decide. Okay, name, surname, password, email ID. Okay, all this personal stuff, images. Okay, probably the number of lists for that particular user, number of cards for that particular user. I'll come to these terms list and card later, but this is something, the number of fields, the actual name of those fields is something that you have to decide by your. Okay, this is just to personalize the user interface. Okay, now at this stage you should be able to add cards to a list. Okay, now what does this card mean? So there is a list. Okay, now list has multiple cards. Okay, the cards will have components like title, content, deadline, completed time, flag, and list it belongs to it. Okay, this is something we think should be sufficient as a part of list or card. Okay, so what does this give? What information does this give? What information does a card give? An information of a card gives us that I mean, some general information about the card itself, that is like the title. All right. Then what that particular card does, okay, why have we added that card at the first place? Right. For example, I want to note certain things of my day-to-day task. Right. There are some things that I want to do, but I want to keep a track of that, of those things. Right. So each card would be an information based on what you need to do. Okay. Now, if there is a task, every task must be associated with a deadline. Okay, whether or not it is completed. Some information in the form of some pictorial information that you can get from the card, and the information, or the location of that card. Location meaning the list to which it belongs to. Right. So this is the information, or this is the content of a card. Is something. I mean, this should be the content of the card. Okay. Now, if you think you can add some more things to this, this is definitely okay. right? Same goes with the list. If you want to add something more to the list, okay, I also want to give the date and time at which the list is created, definitely go ahead with it. Okay, so that is something you can work with, right? So basically from this point, at this point, I understand that there can be three models. One model is the user model, containing information of the user so that we can create profile. Okay, the other model is the list. Okay, a list can, it will be a superset of number of tasks that you want to do, right? So there can be other model called as list for the list. Okay, and there will be the last model that you think should be added, that is card. Okay, so minimum I can see that there will be three different models created for my project. Okay, now whether or not you want to establish relationship for this is something you can decide. Okay, we will definitely recommend you to create a relationship, because that is how you will, mention one list to a particular, mention one card for a particular list, and mention particular list for a particular user, right? So relationships are very important. Okay, so now if we are talking about relationship, there can be some external association tables related to that. Okay, so that is how you have to define your database models. Okay, now there is one more thing that we have given here. System will automatically capture the card created date time and also the card last updated date time. Right, now this information is something which will add a new row to your model. Right, that's the way I mentioned. If somebody wants to add a name and date by himself or herself, they can add it as a part of model. I mean, while creating the list or card. Otherwise, it will be, able to, your system can be created, or you can code in a way that it captures the date and time. Now, where to store that? You have to create a new field for that. Okay, that is something about the date time. Okay, then as we are talking about the completed flag. Now, where do we store this information about completed or non-completed flag? You can create a new row for that. Okay, and then at the end of the day, when your complete list is created, you have added multiple cards. Okay, you need to also have an overlook of, okay, what is happening in my day-to-day life, right? If you're I mean, what is happening in day-to-day life, meaning how am I doing with the task that I've added in the form of cards, right? So whether my card, the task that I've added is completed, whether it is pending, whether it is increasing properly the way I wanted, whether it is stagnant, there is no change, is something you should be able to look at a glance, right? So for that, there is nothing better than having pictorial representation, right? That is why we want, I mean, we encourage you, or we therefore push you to do something called as summary page. Okay, now this summary page will have graphs in the form of trend lines giving information of all the cards that you have added to the list. All right, so I hope the terminologies are clear here. We are having a board, that is the dashboard specific to the user. Okay, we have a list which will have a number of cards created. We have number of cards belonging to a particular list that will give you information of particular task. All right, and then to have a, at a glance information about the particular task, we will have trend lines. Okay, so this is the application that you want to create at the end of the day. Now there can be number of things that can be added to this. For example, you should, I mean, it's not should, you can create something that a card can be moved from one list to another, right? There is a possibility. There can be scenarios where you can think of, okay, this particular card belongs to that list better, so I can move it from here to there. This is the functionality that you can add, an additional functionality, right? So there can be number of additional functionalities that you can work on. All right, so I'll come to the terminologies. I hope I have made those things clear, but the terminologies is board, the Kanban board. Okay, that is the front page, whenever, that is the landing page that you see whenever a user logs in. All right, then there will be, that board will have a list. Okay, all the list what we need to do, and each card represents the task that you need, right? Another thing is the movement that I mentioned, that you can, I mean, think of moving a card from one list to another. And finally, the trend lines. Okay, the summary page is something that is, not more of a text part, but more of a figure part, so that we see and understand, okay, this is happening in my day-to-day task that I want to do. Okay, so this is about the project. Let's move into more details of it. So yeah, so definitely we have referred to certain materials while creating this question statement so that it becomes easier for you to understand, okay, what we are actually demanding you from you as a part of project. All right, so you can see this Kanban and some of the examples like Canboard, Vcan, Trello. These are the open source uh, products that are available that you can refer to and try to create something of your own. Okay, definitely the last point here, it is a very small point, but makes a lot of difference and has a very heavy weight, right? So it says, do not copy, you get inspired. You just have to refer to this, how things should be done. I mean, okay, this is how I have to create card, this is how I have to create list, but you don't have to copy their code. Okay, so that is something, this is really important. Okay, next I'll move to yeah, so we have also given you an example wireframe. Okay, I'll go to that part at the last where I'll be, when I'll be done with all the, the parts in details that we are going to see now. So before I go to that, just wanted to know if this is clear, whatever I said. Or is there any doubt? You can just ask me and just go back to the slides and then come back. Okay, somebody says, Kapil says clear. Okay,
Sir,
anyone else? Yeah.
Sir, can you talk about the list, the task list you said?
Yeah, so just a minute. List, right? So what you can do is I'll just try to give you an example. Okay, so a list can be a group of tasks that you want to do. Okay? List of tasks. Okay, this right, list of tasks, sorry. Okay, now what does this task mean? Each card refers to a task. Okay, why are we saying that each card refers to a task? Because we are talking about things like the content of that card. What does the content? What can be the content of a card? It will be the actual task itself. Okay, I want to bring some groceries. Okay, I want to bring some groceries by end of the day. Okay, so I've added title as grocery. Content, I have to bring some grocery by end of the day. That is the content, what I want to do. Okay, and deadline will be I've given as a part of content, but I need to specify what the end of the day means, right? So I'll give a deadline to that. Once the deadline is done, I should also be able to mark it whether it is completed or not, right? So if it is completed, I will mark it as complete. Okay, if by any chance I forgot to mark it as complete, what we
Sir,
should do, yeah,
the grocery is task and bringing the grocery is what?
bringing the grocery is task, grocery is the title.
Okay. Grocery is the card name.
Grocery is the card name, yes. It can be anything, obviously, right? Bringing the grocery itself can be card name.
Whatever the app we are making, in that it is based on our choice that what the task is, what the card is.
Exactly. Yeah. You see, while creating the application, you are a developer. While using the application, the user has to think about these things. Okay. I mean, let's say I'm a user of your application. Okay. I should be able to create a list. I should be able to create a card within that list. Okay. Now, since I'm creating a card within that list, I should be able to name it. I should be able to give the content. I should be able to give the deadline and stuff.
One question, the terminology movement. How can we move from one list to another list? What exactly it is looking for? I mean, is a step from to complete the task?
No. See, it can be one list to another list, right? So let's say there are two. I'll try to explain everything with the example so that it becomes more clear, right? So let's say there are two lists. Okay, one is day's task. Okay, day's task, anything, and another is grocery. Okay, so we have two lists. Day's task is all the tasks that you need to do throughout that day. All those tasks will refer to an individual card. Okay, that is already created. Now, grocery, I'm thinking, okay, instead of creating a new list named grocery, and I mean, again, add a card within that, rather, I move this card from grocery to my day's task. Okay, it's like shifting a task from one set of tasks to another set of tasks. Okay, task just here the correspondence would be every task would refer to a card and every set of tasks would refer to a list. Okay, so it's like moving a card from one list to another is moving a task from one set of tasks to another set of tasks.
So it depends upon the list of tasks.
Correct, correct. So it should be relevant also. I mean, if you're creating a task for like some other work and you're adding some different, task there, so that would not make sense, right? So it depends. Completely, it should be user customizable. Okay, so user should be able to create list. User should be able to create cards. User should be able to move one card from another. Now, this is movement of card is something that you can think of where if you have time. If you, I mean, if you're really tight on the schedule of project, just go with the core requirements. All right. So we will go. I mean, we'll go through one by one the core requirements also. Okay.
Sir, I have
So
a
there
question.
are two hands raised. Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Who was speaking?
So how are we I just wanted to ask.
Okay,
I
just
wanted
give
to
me a
ask
minute. Just
that
give me a minute.
in this.
Okay, just give me a minute. I'll go one by one. Okay. So was Chandan speaking now?
Yes,
No,
Sandeep.
sir. No. Ognam is speaking.
Okay. Okay.
I have doubt, sir, that regarding the implementation part,
Okay.
that the list should be static or dynamic nature. Like, let's say the number of lists that I would like to create should be static in my code or should vary as per my will.
It should vary. That's why we are creating model, right?
Yeah,
Create
so
new list. All
okay.
right.
So
Okay.
my question is
And
about
and
types of list we have to add. Like the examples we have provided, there are three types of list like to-do list, work in progress list, completed list, and cards were added as per their status of completing work in progress or completed.
Right.
So
So
we
I
have to
would at
add
this
such
point I
type
would
of
say
list.
that yes, just give me a minute. Let me answer one by one. At this point, I would say that you just have to go with to-do list at this point. Okay. Whether a task is completed or not, deadline, completed plan. Let us keep these things for a card, not for a list. Okay.
Okay.
Every time
Some
you create a static, not the static, I would say the list which will have to do, not to be completed and all. That can be individually, specifically represent with the help of status of a card later.
okay, sir. Means when a user log into the page, he or she see any type of list or not. Like
Yeah, that particular user will see all the lists that we have created.
when user log in for the first time, he or she see any type of list.
For the first time, definitely there won't be any list.
Okay, sir. Like you have said, you have to add to-do list. So he or she have to create to-do list first time by herself or himself.
Yeah. So let's say I am a user. I create my profile. So what would be the first step for a new user? Create a profile. Okay. Profile will be created in the database. Okay. With the information that I create, with the information that depends on the model, right? Whatever information I have to add. Okay. So that is done. Now a new user will have only user information, will not have any list or card created. Okay. I will log in as a new user. Then I will create a new list. Okay. Then list associated to that particular user will be added to database. Okay. Then I open a list, add new cards to that. So the cards will be associated to that list and will be added to the database. Okay. So the first time user will have to do everything from the scratch.
Like user can create any random name list.
Yeah. Any random, right? So these components, title, content, deadline, all these things are something that is completely user specific. They can create anything.
Card have
I mean,
only
the name and all.
completed.
Yeah, good.
There will be no status like work in progress on the card, no? Like only completed or incompleted status.
That's what. So if it is incomplete, by automatically it is work in progress. So that is something that you can, by yourself add. If you want to add, information giving work in progress status also, you can do that. Although it is not required.
So what about summary? What we supposed to show in summary? Like
So in summary, doesn't matter whether it is completed or not. It will show you what changes you have made in the card, in that task. Okay.
like summary is card wise, or
Summary. Yeah, summary is always, I mean, we will see summary for a card.
For a card. Okay, sir.
Others, shall I just add one thing?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so means if you're just talking about statuses, that what all statuses can you use for these cards? So the three status that I can think right now is one is the completed one. There can be one incompleted. The reason I'm saying that the status can also be incompleted is, let's say when you create a card, you basically define a timestamp that this work or this card should have been resolved by this time. Now, if you are not able to resolve that card by that time, then in that case, you were not able to complete the work in the required time or in the mentioned time that you defined while creating that card. So in that case, the status of that card can also be changed to incomplete. And the pending can be the state where the time is still remaining and you still have some time to complete that task or work.
Sir, I just have a question related to this point.
Yes.
So in case, see in the slide, it's also mentioned that the system will automatically capture the card created date time, and also same applies for, each list has many cards and the system will automatically capture the created date time of the card. Now, along with that, the card also has the deadline, right, as part of it. So
Yes.
now, related to what you had just mentioned, is it required that the system automatically transfers a task which is incomplete into a list called like backlog or incomplete? See,
With the
because
current technology that you're using for this project, it is a bit difficult because how would the system know that the deadline or the time has already been over for that particular card? So
yeah, I mean, it like
there is
it
a
has to
solution.
compare with the present day and the deadline date given as part of the card, and then accordingly move.
Exactly.
So are we supposed to do that
No.
automatically? Should it be done, or the user can basically, just like we have a completion flag, the user can give the flag as like incomplete or whatever?
See, there can be two things to it. One is that you can either set up a batch job that I would not suggest you to do right now, because that you will learn after you go through the mat report, so that you can skip as of now. The other option that I can suggest you right now is you can basically add a refresh functionality. Whenever you refresh your dashboard, so what it does is it basically checks the current timestamp and it compares it with the all other timestamps that your cards have. And whichever card timestamp has now been over, you can change their statuses to something else, whichever you want. So this is one of the things that you can, or one of the approach that you can use.
Okay.
So like in summary, we have to make pie charts or any graph. On which
Yes.
data we have to make that charts or graph?
I'm not asking you to, go with these three statuses only. This is something that I just gave you as a suggestion.
Okay. So sir, just to reconfirm, so this is one thing which we can do, right? What you just suggested now, that automatically it puts it to the incomplete list, or like the basic requirement is just that a task should have a completion flag and the user either marks it as completed or not, right? That is the
Yes,
basic
yes.
requirement. So
Correct.
these automatic things which the system checks, compares dates and does is not part of the core. Like we can add to it.
Yes, correct. Also.
Okay, just to confirm that. Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir, is it okay to use like a trigger on the DB side for that? To sort
See, that's
things
what I'm
into
saying. These things might be complex for you to implement at this stage.
So like cards have only times of completion and starting. So how can we make graph on your pie chart like on them? Can you give some example?
No. What I'm saying is, let's say you decide to have just two statuses. Let's say one is the complete status, the other one is the incomplete status. I don't know what you define the criteria for each of these statuses.
Okay,
Now,
sir.
once these criteria are defined, these statuses are defined, you will have a clear distinction that a card basically falls under this category or in the other category. You should be having this distinction once you have defined both of these statuses. Now, after that, once these statuses are defined, you can create a pie chart or maybe even a line graph, in order to represent that how many cards fall under this category and how many cards fall under the other category.
Sir, just one query here. This line graph which you're mentioning, I can visualize a bar chart which says like what percentage is incomplete or complete. But can you give an example as to where the line graph will come in?
So similar to bar graph, you can also create a line in place of that.
Yeah, but we just have like two categories, right? Just complete or incomplete.
Okay, so line graph can come into action when you probably have more than two categories. Then
Yeah.
of course, yeah, it may not make sense.
Okay,
Okay.
sir, this is Srinivasan here. I think Sandeep also has raised the hand, but somehow we are. So can we go with the hands raised as a modality to take questions, please?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I just pitched in between, so I did not actually.
No, I think the others, not you, the others have been, I think there have been quite a few questions from the same people, but I think Sandeep has also been waiting for some time.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
So, okay, I would mention, again, I thought I'll say this initially, but the discussions have gone on. It'll be useful, of course, if people have used, because I have been in the industry, so I actually use Kanban. So it is supposed to be a visual representation of what I want to do. So that way, the system probably should not decide, what should be my list and all the stuff, right? I should define my list as a user. I thought I'll just share that, right? And if the system were to say there is a to-do list and there is a days list, a weeks list and all the stuff, that is actually putting extra constraints on the user. The user should be, able to design it however they want. So that is one part. And then probably people can actually look at, simple like Trello or some of those things, and then that will give them a better information, right? So of course, you don't want to copy it, you want to get inspired, but at least one usage. Maybe I'm, extrapolating, but I felt that some questions are coming from the fact that people have probably not tried a Kanban system.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for your point.
Thank you, Srinivasan, sir. Sir, can I ask my question now?
Yes, Sandeep. Yes.
Yeah, I think I saw some inconsistencies. For example, in this slide, it says each list will have ID and name. Okay, but in the wireframe, it says the list will also have a description.
The list will also have
description. A list will have it's mentioned.
See, what we are giving here is not something that you need to stick to as it is. You can even go ahead and extend these. You are not required to implement the each and every attribute to be as it is mentioned here.
Okay. Okay. And you said that there should be a model for user. So I suspect there will be more than one user using my system. So if I want to take a task from one list to another list, so the user should be same, right? I shouldn't move it from
the user should be same. Exactly. Yes. Correct. The user should be transferring one of the cards from one list to another list.
Okay. My last question is in the model, I can see there is one-to-many relationship. So there are different ways of implementing one-to-many. Suppose I use backref, but in the Viva, do I get to answer questions like, will I be asked questions like, implement this with not backref, but backpopulate? So will these questions be asked in the Viva? Should we be prepared for that? Those are questions.
You better be prepared for both of all of such questions, because I don't think that there is much difference between using backpopulates and backref, but you should be just able to explain that why are you going with backref, so that you can reduce some amount of work instead of putting backpopulates on both of them.
Okay, that is just one of the examples. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, Adarsh, would you like to take it from here?
Yeah, sure. All right. So, Sandeep, your hand is still raised. You want to ask questions?
Sir, I would like to ask one question.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
So I just wanted to ask one question regarding the movement of the card. So, for example, if I suppose keep the completed flag the attribute as either completed, incomplete, or pending. For example, say I've actually started doing the job. So basically, it's say in an in progress status. But then after the deadline is completed, it will be going to the incomplete stage, right? So can I just keep it in the same list, or do I have to move it to another list, or how does that part work? And also the another question I have is on the side you have given say the movement of the card, right? So do I have to implement this, or I can keep? I mean, I can do the way I want. So these are the two questions I.
Yeah, correct. So see, movement of card is not just to the example that I gave is different from the one that you are considering for movement, right? So yeah, so one movement would be the statuses, right? Whether it is completed, incomplete, pending, and all. But I think moving a card from that status can be done within the model itself. We don't have to create other tables for that. Okay. Another movement would be you have to move a card completely from one list to the other, right? So when you are working on movement from statuses, then in that case, I don't think you have to create a different model for that. 3 different cards with move with the status completed, cards with the status incomplete. You don't have to do that. Okay. Rather, you can work with filtering. Okay, with having status as one of its fields, right? With only one model as card, right? If you right, so that is one thing. Another, if you want to move card from one list to another, in that case also you won't need a different model for that, right? Some manipulations within the code and you should be able to do that. All right, now talking about second movement, you don't need to actually implement it. If it is I mean, if the time permits and if you feel that okay, you're confident even in moving the card from one list to another, go ahead with it. Otherwise it is not a core requirement as such.
Okay, so I can design the movement the way I want regarding like
correct,
based
correct.
on which kind of thing. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. So there are two types of movement that we have decided here. We discussed here, and you can think of implementing any of these.
Okay.
So each user have his or her own summary page now.
Yeah. So there will be a summary page, or there can be summary page for each card as well, also, right?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So summary doesn't have to do anything with the user. It will have things to do with card and list.
So the status of the card, whether it is completed or not completed, that will be utilized in summary part, right?
Yeah. That can be utilized.
No, sir. I was asking that a summary page contain each user-wise completed card or incompleted cards like that, stats.
So user-wise, I mean, you're talking about
like you
looking
can't
at
see
a summary.
Like you can't see any summary of other users.
Yeah, definitely. That's why we are having a profile, right? Profile for a user.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so it's like you log into your account and see your own information, right? This is for your task, not anyone else's.
Okay, sir.
I have like one more extension to this question. Like let's suppose there is one user called Rahul who has created 3 lists. One is, let's say, to-do list, let's say academics, another one is business, and something called household. 3 lists are there.
Okay.
So, and in those lists, he has created some cards basically. So how does the summary look like? So it will be like domestic. In domestic, we have completed this much task, this much is incomplete, this much is complete. In households, this much is complete, and means like this or something else.
Yeah, it can be something like that. See, summary is like giving information, a pictorial one. A pictorial information about what task is there, which is completed, incompleted, or what type of task is there for a list, right? So you can define, for example, if you're having, let's say, household, right? So you can, and household is a list, okay? That household list has, let's say, 5 to 6 cards, okay, or 5 to 6 tasks. Okay, so I will be using cards and tasks interchangeably. So it is having 5 to 6 cards. Okay, let's say 2 of them are completed and 3 of them are incomplete. Okay, now you can have a trend line where you click on a list and it will show completed bar and incompleted bar like that. Okay. So in general, it is a pictorial information that you are getting when you click on the summary. All right. So at that moment, whenever you are looking at the summary for that particular list, you are seeing that, okay, there are 3 cards that are completed and 3 cards that are incomplete.
So I'm asking, it is list wise, right?
Yeah, in this case, it is list.
Okay.
Sir, just one question. So basically, from what you have explained now, it feels that these main points which you have mentioned, they are supposed to be present, but we have a little freedom as to how we implement it, right? So there's no specific structure of the summary page. It's up to us to implement that.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. And sir, regarding that profile which you are mentioning, so by profile you mean only like the user name and like the user and the user name, something like that, right? We are not taking in a detailed profile, as I just wanted to confirm that.
That is completely based on you. So let's say I want to create profile. Okay, some apps will take only your email ID and password as a credentials for new login. Okay,
Login, yeah.
some will take a lot of information, right? Your city, your address and stuff. So it depends on how you design the login page. Okay. Yeah, so if you feel to if you feel that, okay, my user login should not be a lot detailed, I want only 2 things, that is let's say username and password, that's it. So you create a model according to that. Okay, otherwise if you feel that, okay, no, the user that will be using this application should I want to maintain a good database about those users, I want to maintain a detailed information about those users, so you can define fields based on that thing.
Okay, sure. And just one last question. It's a general one, not regarding like the content, but I just had this question as to this project, the registration. Is there any specific time we are supposed to do it? Like, I wanted to know whether we should do it after we have completed the project.
No, so project registration, registering for the project course.
Yeah, in under the my current projects tab, it says that you have to register for the project.
Okay, so the thing is, I think you have to do anything specifically, because whenever you register for AppDev1 course, you get automatically registered for AppDev1 project course. Okay.
But sir, I just finished AppDev course, like just the previous term. In like the term it just got over, but mine still it shows that I have to register for the project. So that's why I wanted to ask if there's any like specific when do we register? Is there anything like that? It says registration pending for me in that, but I just did my AppDev course right now.
Okay, Abhishek, any idea on that? As far as I know, you get automatically registered. So even if it is showing pending, it will, you will automatically be registered for that.
Sorry, Adarsh, I missed the last sentence. Can you just repeat it?
Yeah, so the thing is here, Aradhana has completed her term, this term, right? May. And in the projects pending tab, she doesn't, get to see the Mad1 project. She is not registered for Mad1.
Like I get the it's written application development, and when I click it, I have the submission links, but it says registration pending.
Okay, are you able to access the project course portal?
Yeah, that I'm able to. So in my usual the portal under the my current projects tab, I have this like unit AppDev1 project. And then I can go to the project page, and there's also like the project submission link. Everything is available to me. Just that in that previous tab under my current projects, there is AppDev1 project written, and under that there's this small red line saying registration pending.
Yeah, I guess so. That status would be changed once you pay the fees for this particular course, and that fees option will be enabled once your project has passed the initial validation checks.
Okay, sir. So I don't have to worry about that now. I can, there's nothing for me to do like right now regarding registration or anything, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
By the way, if we just try to confirm it with a few other students as well in this call, are you all also getting a similar thing?
Yes, sir.
Srini wasn't here. I also finished AppDev in the last term, and then the current projects suddenly showed up in the dashboard sometime, after you announced the split, and then this is shown. And for some time there was nothing there. Now I can click on it. I can go to the course. I can go to the submission links and everything. And as I understand, when I finish the project, after it goes through the check, the fees payment link will be enabled, and then I will be able to pay the fees. I thought I will be able to pay the fees now, but I am not able to pay the fees. So
Yeah,
only
sure.
after
You
the
can
project submission,
the
I
fees
can pay.
option will only be enabled when your project passes the initial checks. Okay, all right. Then you don't need to worry about it, Taradha.
Okay, thank you, sir. And sir, will we be having such sessions even after a couple of days, like closer to the deadline, maybe after 10 days or something? Because it will be useful after we have worked a little more on our projects in case we have any doubts.
Okay, maybe we'll do one thing. We'll try to float the same Google form that we floated a few days ago.
Okay.
Just to seek suggestions from all of you if you need any more session or not.
Okay, sir. But any specific question like an individual has, is there any place where we write to? Like, do we write to the support team, or what do we do in case
Regarding?
we have, regarding the project, if there's a specific query and
There is a forum open for you. You can post your queries there.
Right there? Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So just a thing, I don't know this for others. I can't access the discourse forum for the course, for the project.
So project for MAD1 is not accessible to you, is it?
Projects for MAD1 is accessible. When I go to the, MAD1 course, that forum is accessible to me, definitely. But there's a separate thing called current projects. And the project shows up. I can get the scores, I can get that the typical description, right? But there's a forum link there, discussion link there, and that doesn't take me anywhere. So I don't know whether there's a separate discourse forum for just the project. Or it is
actually there is. Let me just try to share the link for the same here in the chat so that you can check if you're able to access that.
So, do we have to submit the documentation for the API which we have made?
Yes, if you are creating an API, you better create a documentation for that as well. Because it's really difficult to just go through the API in such short duration of time. So you better present your documentation. It would be much easier for the examiner to understand what your API is all about.
We need to submit that also.
Yes, the YAML file should be submitted along with the project.
Along with the app, API. Okay. So.
Yeah, so you keep the YAML file in your project submission folder, whatever you're creating, and then submit. Right?
Okay, sir.
But the thing is, see, once you have created API and you have not utilized them in your application, and since you want to test it, it should be better to have the YAML file running, because this is how we will test the APIs. All right. So yeah, so having the YAML file, the code for APIs, everything kept into a single folder and submitted should be better.
So in assignments we check APIs on Insomnia. Then during Viva, where we have to show that on Insomnia or Replit or Swagger, where.
You can show it anywhere, but see, if the YAML file is there, it would be better to go with the Swagger UI or Insomnia, any of it, right? But the thing is, if you are creating API and you want it, you want us to review it or evaluate it, it should be a part of the submission. Okay, anything that is not the part of submission will not be evaluated.
Okay, sir. Like we can show on Insomnia on our local machine.
Definitely. If you are showing your project on local machine, why not APIs?
Okay, sir.
So, sir, we can use Replit also, right? I mean, as was written in the document. For like, especially you said that for the frameworks, Flask,
Replit for showing your demonstrating a project, definitely.
Yeah, okay. And no, so SQLite we'll basically install that, but we can also import on everything. The Replit platform will be sufficient, right? If I do the entire thing on Replit and then
Right.
submit.
Yeah, will be.
Okay, even SQLite, fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sir, should we host our project, sir?
Sorry. What was that?
Should we host our project?
I would suggest not to do that before submission. Okay, once you're done with your Viva, you can host the project.
Sir, when is the deadline, sir, to submit this project?
Okay, so the deadline for the submission of current term would be 30th September. Okay, so if you want to, yeah, current, I mean, if you want to submit it for along with this term itself, it should be 30th September.
So if we choose to not create an API, how much would it affect our grades?
See, so API is not the core requirement, right? It is a recommended requirement. So if you incorporate any recommended requirement, you are eligible for external bonus. Okay. Yeah. So definitely, I mean, I'm not sure about the grades, but it will definitely affect some marks, right? You're having some external part, and it will be different from who has not.
Okay, sir.
Sir, I gave my MAD 1 in May term, sir. Can I submit this project in September term? Means this upcoming term.
See, so in the September term, I mean, you mean the when the deadline for September term will come, is it?
Yes, sir.
Not really. See, in that case, you will be submitting a different project. I mean, that belongs to a September term project, right? So the question statement will change.
Okay, sir.
Okay, in that case, it will not be any longer a Kanban application. It will be some other question statement.
Yes, sir. Sir, what if we fail to submit for this term? Means if the deadline passed before the submission.
Yeah, so that's what. So you will be, I mean, you will have to re-register for the project course, and you'll be submitting in the next term, but with the new question statement.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. So any yeah. So there are again Debargyan, your hand is raised. You want to ask?
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Sir, I just wanted to have a bit more clarity regarding the principle of Kanban code. Actually, like the slide show you're sharing right now, there were some links provided, right? I did a bit of research regarding what exactly is required. So I'm confused because there are two generic types of codes. There's one type where, let's just say, like there are lists which are not really related to each other. Suppose there are course 1, course 2, course 3, and each list basically gives the assignments or deadlines one needs to do for that particular course. And obviously one assignment for course 1 is not really related to the thing that you need to do in course 2. But another type of code is actually the one that's used in like some sort of app development, where each list kind of represents the phase of that development. Like there is a backlog list, like the core backlog list for every possible phase. And then there's like designing, there's implementing, there's testing, and there's finally deployment, which is the completed list. So if this setup actually changes the summary and the way the tags and flags are implemented, right? Because in the second development phase 1, like if one particular task misses a deadline, then it actually moves completely back to the backlog list. And if it like is completed before or on by the deadline hits, then it just moves on to the next phase of the development. And finally, after every single phase, suppose for this particular project, let's say there is the user part, there's the backend part, and there's the summary part. If those be the 3 tasks, and if each of them hit the deadline, like hit the deployment column, then finally the project is completed, like that. So the
Okay.
summary will be different for different type of codes, right?
All right. So, so I mean, so what? So for what I understood from these, you are talking about two cases, right? One is creating individual lists, which is independent from each other. Okay. One list, number of cards. You do the thing, marked is complete, and that is done. Okay, that is one thing. And the other is dependency of one list to the other, right? So you can move to another list only when you're done with the previous list, is what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there are two cases, right? So you go with the former one, the first one. Okay, creating independent.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, yeah. Okay, all right. Next would be Ashwin.
Yes, sir. So
Yeah.
that's what I had asked. Sir. Means, can we do this project in next term?
Okay, that was your question. All right. Okay, so you can lower your hand. I just do it for you. Yeah, there was one more person. Yeah. Yes, Satam.
Hello.
Yes, Satam. Tell me. You can. We can hear you.
Okay, sir. Sir, I wanted to ask that in the summary page, what are the things that we have to show? Like what the number of tasks which are completed and the number of tasks which are yet to be completed. Only these two things.
Yeah, so this is the basic thing that is required. There can be other things that you can add. So it depends on you. Okay, because see, every list is, it's not like every list is a to-do list and you are showing completed and non-completed also, right? So there is some variety in the list also. There can be a variety in list also, right? So it depends
Yes,
on the type of list, what kind of information you are showing on the picture or in the form of graphs. Okay, so completed, incompleted is like one of the things that you can show. Okay, now I mean, while creating a list, you should have, okay, what do I see as a form of graph to get maximum information from the particular page, right? So in that case, you can define, okay, what can be, what else can there be so that I get more information about the more information about the list or task that I'm doing. Okay, so it is completely based on your thinking what you want to show as the information. Right? Being completed and incompleted is just a part of that pictorial information.
Okay, sir. But I also wanted to ask that what if there are some tasks uh, which deadline have been passed? So how would I show that?
Yeah, so see, I mean, how do you first classify this task? Whether the deadline
Uh,
is
for
passed.
example, uh, for example, there will be a button which will be marked like completed or not completed. That will be
Correct.
shown by two things: completed task and incompleted task. But sir,
Correct.
how will we show that task whose deadline have been passed and we were not able to complete them? Like
Yeah, so that's all. So that's what. See, so that's what. So this you are talking about a list which is having some cards or tasks where you want to also track the whether the deadline is passed or not, right?
yes, sir.
Right. So what you can do every time every time you open that card, you can I mean have some part of code which will compare the current timestamp with the actual deadline that you're saying, right, for that list. If it is less than the actual deadline, it will show it as I mean it will categorize it as completed or incompleted with what you are giving as a flag, right? Once the deadline is passed, let's say I open a task, I open a card. Okay, and for whatever task that I've created for that card, if the deadline has already passed, what it will do, it will while opening that card, it will note the timestamp and compare it with the deadline. Once the deadline is passed, it will show that okay, the deadline for this task is passed. Okay, so some logic has to be done.
Okay. And sir, like in the previous session, there was also a session regarding this project, and we were told that we cannot use API in this project. So I wanted to ask that can we use JSON and WT forms?
Yeah, definitely you can use. See, the thing is, use something if you can explain it very nicely. Okay, it should not fall upon your back, because when you are using something, you should be able to say why you are using it and how it is different from the conventional thing that we are using now. Okay, because if you are not able to do that, it does not give a very good idea about you writing your code by yourself.
Okay.
Right. So if you're using WT forms, you should be, you should be in a position to tell me why I'm using WT form. How is it different from normal HTML form?
Yes. Okay, sir. And sir, last thing,
Yeah. Try
like
not to
there
make
can be.
application fancy.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And sir, there can be many lists. Like maximum there are 5 lists, na? That
It's
we
not.
can
There is
create.
no upper bound on the list. There can be any number of lists. 0 to infinity. There can be any number of lists.
Sir, every list will be individual, and like, is there like we have to show in the last, like we have to show some kind of list which shows to do or the backlog, like that. Is there any
No, that is
recommendation
dependent
that
on
we
you.
have to do?
That is dependent on you, because see, when you are looking for a backlog list, you'll have to look after this point, right? The terminology, fourth one, movement. Okay,
Yes,
these
sir.
movements should happen within the application once the deadline is passed. Okay, so if you are okay with coding that part, you can definitely go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Otherwise, go ahead with the status. Okay, try to filter out your logs with the status.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Is that it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sir, one more question, sir. Regarding, yes, regarding
who's
the
speaking?
Gokul, sir.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Regarding the validation for our forms and all, sir, are we like required to use any sort of like separate package or API for that, or can we just do it in the controller side, like by hard coding?
I'm sorry, Gokul, I just lost your voice for a minute. Can you just repeat?
The validation, sir. Are we allowed to just do it in the controller by hard coding the validation thing, sir?
Yeah, no issues with that.
Okay.
Okay, what kind of validation would that be?
Sir, I'm asking, like, hard coding what characters should be used and should not be used.
That is completely dependent on you. You can go ahead with whatever validation you want.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're saying that, okay, I want to say that, okay, my email should have @ sign. And this is something you want to check whenever an email is added, right? At the backend.
Sir, this is Aditya. So
Yeah.
I've actually written most of the application and the API. So we are using Flask security for authentication, user authentication, things like that, right? So on the API, should you also build some sort of an authentication system, or is that okay if we don't build?
No, that's okay. That's okay.
That's
See,
okay,
because
right?
we will be working with token-based authentication and learning about that in
Correct.
So that's
okay. So right now we don't need to do that.
No,
It could be a simple CRUD. In the API side, right?
Correct.
Okay, and I also have this thing. For example, even in the tutorials and things like that, we were taught how to use the login and register pages, right? To just get the user inside the app authentication, right? But certain things like change password and things like that, I went through the documentation, and even though I followed a documentation, there was hardly any information about how do we put up a form, for example, and change it. If I use the simple, do a get request from the database and then put it out, it usually comes as a hash, right? So how do we, do all of these things? Could there be a tutorial that could just, amplify that?
No, so I mean, what I understand is you want to add a functionality to change, to be able to change the password, right?
Correct, correct.
So,
A simple form, maybe simple things like
okay.
that, like how do we do a change password, and things like by default, even in the tutorial, we were just taught about how to use the de facto Flash security elements, even including the form, where we don't actually do anything with the form, right? So if we have to put a bootstrap theme to it, how do we do it? Simple things like that. If there could be a small tutorial or a video that could be put up, that will be really helpful.
Okay, we'll try to have something like that. But the thing is, see, you don't need to use any framework as of now to, even if you want to, do things like change password.
Okay.
Okay. Simple retrieve it from the database. Check it whether it is correct or not. I mean, whether a particular user that has created the profile is the one who is trying to change the password or not. Okay.
Authorized view in a way. Yeah.
Correct. Once you verify that, just change the password. I mean, update the field. Right? It's like the CRUD operation, one of the component that is update part of CRUD operation for the login user model.
Okay.
Right. So that is the basic. I mean, here we are not specific. Okay, if you want to do this functionality, use this framework. We are not doing that specificity.
Right.
Okay. This specificity is only for the actual micro framework that you want to use. That is Flask. Okay. So within the domain of Flask, you can do anything.
Right. Another thing is so far, let's just say I've completed about 80%, 90%, whatever percentage be it. Is there a way I can show to somebody saying that, if it is done, or should there be more to be done, or where I stand, anything of that sort, some feedback?
Okay, see, I mean, what won't be possible at this point, because see, if that is the case, I mean, it will be like checking everybody's form or everybody's submission before the deadline. So won't be able to do that. But I mean, once you make sure that you're done with the core parts, everything after that is that comes under recommended and optional. You are well above the actual requirement.
Okay. Cool. Am I allowed to post maybe a screenshot or something to not the code, but just the visual aspect? Am I allowed to post it in the forum? No.
See, that would be okay from our side, but why would you want somebody to refer to your code?
Okay.
I mean, even some ideas can also. Why do you want your UI even to be seen?
Okay. Fair enough. Good. So, thank you so much.
Like on list, there is also no limit on cards, no?
Yeah. There's no limit on.
Okay, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, just a minute. Just let me go with the ones who have raised hand. Okay, you can raise your hand, and I'll just tell your name, and you can unmute. Okay, so I'll go with Preetham.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Sir, I want to ask that if I got stuck in the code part of any of the files, Python files, then will I get, sir, will we get any alternate mail ID? So can we share my code with the course instructors?
Okay, so that's what. So I mean, even that was the question before, right? So the thing is, it won't be possible to assess and give you the actual feedback on your project, because because that would be like testing your application on an individual basis. Okay, so what I would rather prefer is you can post a screenshot of the error that you are getting on the Discord. Okay, and the course instructors and your peers will try to help you with that. Okay, but directly giving out the code and also giving you the actual, what we say, the email ID of instructors, it becomes very tough on our part to give you the solution, or for that part within the very short time. Okay, rather you can post the screenshots of the error that you are getting, and maybe minimal a short part of code that you have done. And part of code means that particular small part which will be intuitive enough to, okay, what actually is causing the error. Okay, if that is also done on the, again, the screenshot, not the actual code. Okay, so if that is done, we should be able to help you at least to some extent.
Okay, sir. I understood. Thank you, sir.
Okay, okay, Prithvi. All right. Shashi Kumar.
Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Sir, I was during this discussion. It was told that we can do this project in Replit itself. Is that possible? That so we actually I could not submit some lab assignments because I could not. It was I could not do it in Replit.
See, I mean, those who are comfortable with the Replit should be able to do it in Replit. If you're not comfortable in Replit, you can definitely go with the local ID. Right?
In that case, I have to install this what you call Python and SQLite in my system, isn't it?
Yeah, everything has to be installed.
And only otherwise I can use Replit for the work, the whole work.
Yeah, yeah, correct. So, can I ask what part were you facing issues in Replit?
No, when I was submitting the lab assignments, I was not able to submit it. I don't know how it happened. I was practicing it with Replit itself, and I was getting results also, but I could not submit it.
No, so submission through Replit is may not be possible because you will have to anyway download the entire submission, right, as a zip and then submit it to the portal. Directly from, I mean, submission directly from Replit is not possible. You'll have to anyway download your project.
Whole code I have to download and then submit.
Correct, correct. So it will be downloaded as a zip file. All the requirements file, your files in the templates, HTML, static, JS if you're using, all Python code, everything will be downloaded as a zip file. That you have to submit on the portal.
Okay, sir. Then another thing is that I am not familiar with this Kanban. I am hearing it for the first time, but after getting this project, I searched the web and I practiced this Trello and all that. But I have many doubts coming up. So can I do post it in Discourse afterwards?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Afterwards, as in when?
No, in next week or something that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So
it will be live.
yeah, before the deadline, while you're doing your project, you can keep posting the issues that you're getting, right? Maybe in terms of a verbal, some screenshot.
Yeah.
Definitely not the entire code or a big chunk of code, because that can be easily taken from you.
Okay,
right?
okay.
Yeah,
Sir,
so
and
you need to be
if
aware
I
of
could not
these
complete it by September 30, it was told that I have to go do it again in next term with another problem.
Correct.
That doesn't make any difference, no?
Difference in what?
No, in the course. In the completion of the course, I will get the certificate only after the completion of the project. That's the only thing. Huh?
Yeah.
So if I could not complete it by September, I can do it in the next time with a new problem. That is, am I my understanding correct?
Yeah. So see, the thing is, there are two things. One is completing the entire project. I mean, creating the entire project from the scratch with a new question statement is something you definitely have to do. But whether you're not, you have to repeat the course. Is I'm not sure, which I'll make you. The information on that I'll give you. Okay. I'll just confirm.
No,
and let you know.
I have completed this one course now last time.
Correct, correct. So that's what. So it should not be like that. You need to, or you had to, complete the course once again. That should not happen. Okay. So I'm really not sure about that. I'll make sure and I'll get back to you with that.
Okay, sir.
Maybe if just let me see if Abhishek is there. I guess he's not there, but okay. I'll confirm and let you know. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And about wireframe, we will be discussing now, no? That wireframe.
Yeah, correct. So it will be again a pictorial representation of whatever I'm speaking here. So I haven't got chance to move ahead, but okay. I hope most of your doubts are getting clear with this discussion.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So who's next? Oppo even.
Sir, I have a flight to catch. Can I ask my doubt first, please?
Yeah, sure. So you want to ask your doubt now or?
Now.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, sir, is this like a personalized user? It's first or to have
I'm sorry, your name is, I mean, your voice is not clear. May I know your name?
Sir, can you hear me now? Is this like a personalized Kanban mode for each user, or there are teams which are each Kanban?
Personalized, yeah. If you want to have something like teams, this is something, it will be kind of a build up on what you are doing now, right? So you can start with a personalized app first and then go with the teams.
Okay. And are there going to be custom statuses also for each card? Like it's not just open and closed, but maybe working, scoping, etc., or fixed status, like open and closed.
Personal for cards, what?
So let's say I have a thing like I have to register for courses. I make a Kanban card. I have selected the courses. I'm making the payment. I can have each of these as different statuses instead of just open and closed. A to-do list, just I have to make done. That's it, or do I have to kind
No,
of?
so see, this courses list or to-do list is not the predefined list, right? These are not predefined lists. These are lists which we have, taken as examples to discuss. Okay, so when a user logs in and create his own profile, he or she will have the provision to create a new list, name it, and add the task or cards based on their convenience.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Right. So, yeah. So I'm not sure if I've answered your question, but this is what the application you have created. There is no predefined list. Okay, to-do list, incomplete list. That is some. It is not the case.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Yeah, Sujit.
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you're audible, sir.
What if I choose not to do this project this term? So do I have to separately register for this in the September term?
Yeah, you'll have to register for it because see, the thing is, you will be automatically registered for the project of this term, right? So for the next term, you'll have to re-register it, and I guess there is some fees also.
Okay, so but in the course registration form, I did not see this project listed. So if I choose MAD 2, I can see that I'm automatically registered for that project. But so actually, I completed this MAD 1
Correct.
course.
So yeah, so that will happen. That as Abhishek mentioned that. So if you are, I mean, submission in the initial validations that we do for the project, once that is done, you will have to, I mean, you will be registered automatically.
Not getting that what, sir? Could you repeat?
So see, initially when you submit, okay,
Yeah.
so your submission goes to a basic validation. Okay, this is to make sure that your application or your submission is in the valid or required format as we have stated in the guidelines, right?
Okay,
So that validation, once that is done, that is the stage 0. Okay, we can call it. So once that is done, you get registered for the project course. I mean, the registration will be reflected.
Okay, that is if I choose to do this with, before September 30th, right? So if I choose not to do so, how will that procedure be? Like, will there be a separate form to
Right.
fill?
So see, in that case, we will also, I mean, you made a submission, we'll know that you made a submission. You did not make a submission, again, we'll know that you have not. So we will, push you to the next turn. Okay. Now, if you have to register for the, so you will be, I mean, you need to get the diploma, you need to register for the next term project. That is okay. But will you be given, I mean, will you have to re-register for the theory course also is something that I'm not sure at this stage. Okay, that was the question before also, so that I'm not sure. So I'll just make sure that of that and let you on. Okay. So by any chance, let's say you don't want to do project this time and you want to do it in the next term. Okay,
Yeah.
in the end of next term, there will be definitely a different question statement. Registration will be different, but do you, I mean, since you have not completed project this term, will you have to re-register for theory course also next time is something that is not given.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay, so I'll give the information of that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, okay. All right, is that it? Should I go with Kapil now? Okay, yeah, Kapil, go ahead.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
I have a question about the API security. It was asked just now, but I have already implemented the security part. Means username and password we have to pass to the API first. do the login, and then the CRUD operations can be done. Like that, I have implemented.
So username and password for the user or for using the API?
No, for user.
That's okay.
It's okay, right? Because
Yeah.
I've used at login required and all
No,
for the.
see, the question that was asked was whether, see, what happens is there are some open APIs where you can simply go to the API resource URL and use the API. Okay.
Yeah.
Some APIs need authorization, means you as a user should be allowed to use that API.
Okay.
Okay, it's not about user login.
Because what I thought was, if I just keep this API open, anyone can use the API to delete user, to mess up with the lists and cards of any user.
Okay,
That's
so
why I
I mean,
kept.
I'm at this point, I'm not clear how we have implemented that, because every API endpoint will perform a specific task, right? So if even if I'm logged in as a user using API, I'm not sure how other APIs or other resource URLs are getting affected.
No, what I have done is, first you have to go to the endpoints /API/login, pass the post request with username and password. That makes that stores the cookies into the session, and then what further requests that are sent on the user, that is lists and cards, those are allowed. Without login, those requests are not allowed. Means CRUD requests.
No, that's okay. I mean, you have applied session and cookies within the API code.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
okay. No issues.
Okay. And I wanted to ask about the README file. Means what to write in that file, means the steps or the commands to be.
Yes. No. So general README file would be the actual file structure. File structure meaning as in the relative, right? Right from the that particular folder, project folder.
Root folder.
Yeah, root folder. And some instructions you can give. Okay, I mean, what are the files, what are the content of these files, what are these files do? Okay, general documentation, what we require is your basic information, roll number and stuff, how you have gone through the question statement, what you have understood. Okay, some explanation about the database models that you have created, how they are related with each other. Okay, if there are APIs you have created, which you have, then you should also mention the API endpoints. Okay, this API does that. That is what is required as a part of documentation. Your documentation also has a link which should redirect to the video presentation. It will be recording.
Okay, because if I include all those and additional features, the project report is getting bigger than 2 pages.
That's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, you can take 1 or half page extra. That is not an issue.
Okay.
Because anyway, this documentation that you are giving will be a part of your project submission.
Okay.
Okay. Rather, if we are asking you to do that, it will be either the link of the the document. Okay. So you don't have to upload document anyway. So limitations come generally for things like video and audio. Why? Because they, a smaller video, very a few seconds length can go to MBs. Okay. So you don't want to deal with that amount of data. Documents and all are in KBs. So creating a 3-page report is okay. We should.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Next, GKP.
Sir, do you have any tutorial or help videos regarding session management? Sir?
I guess there was a Solve with Instructor session, right? Yeah, so there was a Solve with Instructor session where we had talked about Flask login framework. Okay, so that is one thing. You can also refer to the Solve with Instructor sessions of previous term also. In that terms, we have taken a Solve with Instructor session on the session entities. Okay, so these are the two things that we will generally take into consideration when talking about session management, right? Session cookies, I mean Flask session and Flask login. Okay, understand these two and you should be able to incorporate this.
Sir, those videos we can access through the course portal itself, or?
No, course portal it won't be there, but YouTube I guess it will be there.
The YouTube is.
Course portal you will have only these term videos,
okay.
But YouTube will, you might have the last term videos.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Next, Vivek.
Yes, sir. Am I audible? Hello?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, so two questions actually. First one, for this API authorization only, I actually use token-based authorization. As long as I'm able to explain it in the Viva, I hope it is okay, right? To use
Yeah,
that
that's
method.
right. Yeah, that's what.
Okay.
So anything extra you want to, you are putting in, you should be able to explain it, because again, see, what happens is there is a lot of code that is there on the internet, which I can simply copy and paste and get it, working. Okay,
Yeah,
but that
sir,
is not
because
the right
actually
way.
I wasn't really checking discourse as much, and I actually implemented those graphs with chart.js, and then I saw lots of people did not recommend that approach because even the examiners might not be comfortable with JavaScript, something like that. So I had to
Correct.
in short-lib and all. So that was one doubt. The second one was actually I'm done with most of my project. I'm just stuck at the video part. I'm not really sure on what I need to cover in my video and how. I've been trying to do it, but my video easily spans up to 10 to 15 minutes of length. If you provide some clearance on what to actually include in the video, it will be very useful.
Okay, consider that the app that you have created is not created by you. Okay, this is just app that you got working. Okay, now you want to show this application. I mean, what features of this application give you on the front end, and you want to show it to your friend. What would you show? Okay, no code, nothing, only the front.
But then
this is
even
how
if
I
I go
log
that
in.
way, there are validations that I might show. There might be, I might maybe talk to him about the maximum number of lists you can add. Like, should I go into so much depth, or
No,
is
you
it
don't
like
have to
even
go
the
in that much of depth.
like
See,
the Play
this
Store?
video should be, you should be able to give the core requirements. I mean, whatever is the core requirement, you should be able to show those things. Okay. Okay, CRUD for list, CRUD for my cards. Okay, I have user login and I have graphs. That's it.
Okay, user login, CRUD on lists and cards, and then the overview
summary
of
page.
Summary page. That should be fine, right?
Yeah, that's
and
that all shown in the front end. Okay, you don't have to go into much depth of the code also, because that
no
we'll
need
be
to
doing
go
in
through
the
the
level
code, and also we don't need to show the API calls not in the video.
No, not required.
Right. So okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Next. Yeah, Aditya.
Yes, sir. But this is about the Google form for validation. No matter how I zip the file and then upload it, I always get the overall validation failed. I tried just putting just the files, still said failed. Put it in a folder, failed. And I saw it in Discord saying that, you know what, you put your number as a folder name, your roll number as a folder name, and then zip it and then upload it. I still tried that, nothing worked. So can you put a basic, just one folder, one template that will work with the validation? Because nothing seems to be working for me.
So, I mean, are you creating a folder and keeping all the files within that?
Yes. That's what I did. Despite that, I tried just with the files, zipping just with the file didn't work. Put a folder with a different name, didn't work. Just put my roll number as suggested in Discord as a folder name with the files in it, respective files in it. It didn't work even then. So
okay, fine. See, the thing is, the mail that you get gives you an idea of what is mailing, right? So that does not help.
Sorry.
The mail that you get.
Yeah, mail. Yeah, response mail. Yeah.
Yeah. So the response mail has okay. So it has one overall validation status, that is failed or passed. But then later it gives you what exactly is the issue.
No, it says submission format status. Submission does not have a project root folder. That is one. And the overall validation failed. It shows me a list of the folder name and the list of files in it as well. So I don't know what seems to be wrong.
Okay, so maybe what is happening? So when you unzip, it should create a folder which has all the files and the template folder, right?
Yeah, which is what it is doing as well. It is actually showing me the folder name and the respective files in it as well. When in the email that I get, but it does not. It's still saying as validation failed.
Okay.
Like for example, I will just send you this. This is one of on the chat. I can just send it to you. So this is one of the file that I get that it shows. For example, it has my ID, which is a folder / the file name YAML file. Yeah, but it should still says it's failed. I don't know how. If you could just put a sample folder for me to just for us to try, it would be great. Just a sample folder or a zip file. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
I don't have it.
so this 21F1, this is the folder, right?
Yeah, that's the folder which I zipped. So it will be 21F1 so and so dot zip, and then with the API.yml files in it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
This
so,
is what it sent me as a yeah.
Okay, I mean, at this point, I'm not sure why it is happening because it should work. We have tested it ourselves.
Okay.
So,
I mean, if on Discourse, if you just put a dummy zip file with one file so that I can just upload it, we could use that template for uploading in that particular way. It'll help us. That's it.
Correct. Fine. I'll try to do that.
Yeah, that's it. Just a dummy
Okay, so
folder.
this should be the structure of your file, and this is how you, structure your files and submit and see if it works, right? So, okay, we'll give that.
Yeah. Anything dummy is fine. Yeah.
Correct. Okay, we'll try to do that on Discourse.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, Kapil, yeah. Kapil, your hand is raised. You want to ask something? Okay, meanwhile, I'll move to Satyam.
Hello.
Yes, Satyam, tell me.
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask that if we use the Flask logging framework, and by implicitly in the login page, it shows the email ID and password. For login page and register page, is it's the same email ID and password. So in Kanban application, I have seen that it's the username and password, and if we log into the session, it displays the username throughout the session. So, sir, can I do something about it to change the email ID to the username? Like there is not any mention of email ID.
No, that's okay. But see, in that case, you should mention, you should give all these fields: username, email ID, and then password. Okay. What you show, what you store in the session and show on the front end depends on you then. Okay, but then you'll have to give both. While creating a user, you should be able to, the application should allow to take the username, email ID, and password. Okay. Then since you have three different things to work with for a user, depends on you what to show on, what to store in the session. Okay. So if you store the, you store the username, it will show username in the session, even when you log in with the email ID.
Yes, sir, but I wanted to ask that the default template is, if I wanted to make some changes in the default template or wanted to modify the
Default
template, how
template
can I
as
do
in
that?
the default template as in what is the default template?
The default template for login page. We are importing it now, so there must be a default template which it is showing in the login page and register page. So
No,
is
so
there
where is
way?
this default template given? I'm not really sure.
Okay, sir. What I meant by default template is when I logging in, it is showing email and password. So, sir, I'm asking that if I wanted to change that, it
So have
should be
you
showing
taken this
username
page
and password.
default? Yeah, so you have taken this template from Bootstrap, is it?
No, sir.
Then?
It's within the login security framework. Na?
Yeah, but I see login security frameworks does that framework will have a code for HTML which will show what fields you're taking, right? It will not be specific to only this you can take only these fields, right? It is just an example to give you how to apply security, right?
Yes, sir. So in screencast also, like I have tried, but sir, my simple question is, I wanted to change the page which it is showing in logging in and while registering. Is there any way
You create your
to
own
do
login
that?
form, right? You can create your own login form.
Okay, sir.
You
Okay.
create your own
So
login form, add as many fields you want, and what to do with those information that you're putting in the fields is can be can be worked around at the back end. Okay.
okay.
Right. So you take all the fields from the form by creating your own form, and then you work with those only fields which you need at the back end.
Okay.
Right. The default template, I'm not sure how it works, but see, the thing is, it depends on you, right? What information you're taking. If Flask law security provides only a particular template for login framework, then it's better not to use it.
Yes.
Because in
Thanks
that
for
case,
that.
you're limiting the user model.
Yes, sir.
Right? To create your own
And
login
sir,
form, create your own security authentication stuff, right? You can, put in whatever values you want and then treat them in the backend. Okay. What values you want to treat, how do you want to authenticate, then depends on.
yeah. Okay. And sir, one more thing. You mentioned that we can refer to the previous term live sessions or tutorials and session environment. So sir, can you provide us some link to go through that, or how will we find the session link?
Okay. So currently I'm presenting, but I'll put it on Discourse. Okay. Okay, just let me make a note of it, what I want to put on Discourse. One is the folder structure that needs to be validated properly. Okay. A right structure folder that will pass the validation test. That is one thing. Second is to let you know whether or not doing the project this term will you'll have to do the what we say the course itself the next term is or not. This is the second thing. And third thing is the links to the previous login session management. Okay, so that is something I'm doing on this course.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Anything else?
No, sir, it's fine.
Okay, Kapil, your hand is still raised. You want to ask something?
Sir, you said you would send the links and relevant information in the Discourse forum, right, sir?
Yeah, on Discourse.
Okay.
Okay, so Kapil is not speaking, so I think he has forgotten to lower his hand. So I'll lower it for him. Okay, anyone else wants to ask anything about the project?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
one doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, regarding the movement logic, I have. Suppose we have 3 cards starting, in progress, and completed. And if you update a card, should it move? Like once it is completed, should it move to the next stage, or it is like all the lists are independent to each other?
See, all the lists are independent to each other. This movement is what is, I've mentioned before. Movement of a card from one list to another is something you have to think of, right? It is not as such a core requirement. Okay, even if you can think a good logic about that, how you move a card, a card from one list to another, it is well and good. If by any reason you are facing issues with this movement, you don't use the movement of card at all. Just filter all the cards with the status. Okay, because anyway you have a completed flag field, right, created for a card. So you can filter all these cards based on their completed flag, whether it is complete or not. Okay,
so
this completed flag is again again for let me add to this also. A completed flag is again is something that is not only not you will have to remain confined to. Okay, you can add more statuses also, right? Whether it is completed or not, whether it is pending. Okay, some has passed deadline. All these statuses is something that you can create while creating a card so that a user can update them manually. Okay, if nothing is happening automatically, give the manual changes. Okay.
Just a confirmation, the status and the list names are not the same, right?
The
Status is
no,
something
they're
different,
not.
and like the completed. If I have a list called completed, it doesn't mean with that it is status is completed.
See, the thing is, let me just clarify what this list is. Okay, so the list is the actually a group of tasks that perform to same thing. Okay, if you remember while starting the session, I said something about grocery. So let grocery be the name of list. Okay, now picking up number of groceries can be individual tasks or individual cards. Okay, and talking about grocery can be the list. Okay, do not get confused with the actual status or the statuses of completed, incompleted, or whatever pending as the name of list. Okay, because in that case you will have only 3 to 4 list. Okay, what we are saying is you can have 0 to unlimited number of lists. Okay, so this list is not the actual status saying, okay, whenever you create a card, it should go to one of the 3 status saying list, right? There is no list like completed, incompleted, pending. That is not like that. List is just a group of cards that belong to same, same action. Okay,
Same
meaning
category.
when I say correct, so when I say grocery, I will say, okay, picking up whatever soap, picking up towel, picking up some rice and all these belong to different cards. Okay, different tasks that belong to same thing, grocery.
Okay.
Okay, which should be created by user. Okay, now if you define these 3 lists, pending, incomplete, complete, you are very well doing the creating the predefined list, which the user will not have control on. Okay, this is not what we want. Okay, because if you do that, you are losing the C component of list, the create a list.
Okay.
But CRUD is like a core requirement. You should, the user should be able to create a new list. Okay, if you
And
give
one more
them,
thing,
yeah.
in the wireframe, it is mentioned that it is like maximum 5 list can be added. So is it okay if we limit to 5?
Okay. So I got the doubt now. Okay, previously somebody. So the thing is, maximum file list meaning maximum file list should be able. The user should be able to see at once. Okay, you can add multiple lists, more than 5 lists also. But at a point, you should be the user can see 5 lists is something that you can work on. Okay. Now the thing is, whenever you create a table of lists, okay, table can have so many entries. Okay, 5 to 10 entries that can be easily seen on the screen. Okay, but if you may have observed the wireframe, just let me just show you that.
Sir, I have designed my application with the user seeing at most at 4 times. So is it a problem?
Okay, you have designed?
I have designed it in a way the user sees at most 3 or 4 at a time.
No issues with that. No issues with that. That is something you can decide. So if you see here, this to okay, you can add 5 lists. They are all vertical. Okay, so this is like so. I mean, if you see this list is appearing like a card, right? I mean a box. Okay, if you are adding let's say 10 lists and you are creating one box for each, it doesn't look good as a UI. Okay, so that's why this 5 number comes so that it looks good on the UI also. 5 lists added one by one. Okay, but if
So
you are
after that, it
creating
will go scrolling. Is that
yeah, something like that.
okay?
So if you have let's say list as actual list table rows, then you can have more than 5 also. Okay, so you don't have to limit your list.
Okay, got it, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, I have one doubt
Yeah, go
regarding
ahead.
regarding the summary.
Hmm.
So, like the summary should be like the summary of all the lists in one chart, or like each list should have an individual summary.
Each list should have a different summary. Again, this is dependent on you. I mean, you can have both, right? You open a user profile and there will be some list and there can be an option to see the summary. Okay, which will show the summary of all the lists. Okay, then you open a list and then you should be able to see the summary of all the cards. Okay, so it depends on you. You can do both, you can do any one of them.
Okay, and so like the summary graph should show on the same page, or like should a link show a
No,
separate?
it should, yeah, it should go to a different page.
Okay.
Okay, you should go to a different page which will show. I mean, again, it can have. So let's say first you open the dashboard. Dashboard will have all the lists created. Okay, you click on the list, and then there will be something to. There will be a page to show the summary. Then you will guide it to a different page. Something like that would be better to understand and comprehend by the you also user also and the examiner also.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a doubt regarding project submission. So I have already taken MAD 1. That means I have completed MAD 1 in May term. And I didn't do project. Okay, I'm still not started it. So if for some reason, if I fail to do before September 30, so if I take up the MAD 1 project next term, I mean in a September term, then the topic will be changed, right?
Yeah, you will be doing a different question statement, working on a different question statement.
Yeah, and I'm also enrolled. I mean, I'm wishing to take MAT 2 theory course. So for that project, what it would be like? It would be a Kanban or then some other for MAT 2.
So MAT 2 next term, right?
Yeah, it's September.
Yeah, so that will be Kanban. I mean, a development of Kanban. Generally, what happens is the project of this term will be the project of MAT 2 next term, but I mean, involving MAT 2 concepts, right? So even if you, so in that case, you'll have to work on two different projects.
Yeah, then it will be different, right? So we should complete it before September 30 itself.
Yeah,
MAD 1
ideally you
project.
should.
Yeah, okay.
Because
Thank you.
in that case, you'll have to again push the other project, MAT 2 project, to the next another term. If you really want to work on the next question state, I mean the next terms project. Because again, so even I mean what I meant to say is now next term if you take a project, you will work on different question statement. And next time if you do the MAT 2, you will work on question statement of, I mean additional question statement of this term with additional part. Right?
Yeah.
So it
So
becomes
in that
tough.
case, it would be better if we take MAT 2 project and again, I mean, further next term.
Further, yeah. Either you push it or take do the project itself here.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Again, see, so the login is right. So if you see the base requirement, it is user login, right? Now, there's one question on the chat. So it is like whether you want to, is it mandatory to do a proper login system or a simple login system, right? So the answer to that is it will be okay if you go with simple login system. Why? Because see, here in the base requirement, we are saying that you should have a user login, okay? And if we move ahead, yeah, correct. In the optional part, it is a proper login system, right? So proper login system is optional, but having a simple login, you can very well do add a username and you are directed to the dashboard. That is also a login system, okay? Because that separates out the user, so that is okay, right? All right. So yeah, any other doubt?
Sir, the optional things will give you like improved mark grading or
yeah, so it will add marks to some extent, but it will be again taken as a bonus. Recommended and optional are taken as bonus. There are definitely some weightage, but it will never, I mean, not doing the optional part will not fail you. It's like that.
Sir, how can we do the import export of list?
This is okay. So this is like what can be done is you can, I mean, go to the resources and find that every list that you create, I mean, whatever you add in the database. Okay, so let's say I'm creating 5 lists. Okay, every list has some, I mean, 10 to 15 cards. Okay, so all that information can be, so what is happening? All this list and cards are getting stored in the database. Okay, so SQLite provides you that you can print this database model, the information of database models as CSV. Okay, right. So what will happen? This will be it's like exporting the list to your local machine. Okay, so your application is running on the web. Okay, you create a list, you add some card, and then you export the list. So what will happen? It will be downloaded in your system as CSV. Okay, now what is import list? Importing already created CSV file into your system so that you don't have to manually create the list and manually create the card. That is what it means. Okay, that is why, and since I said it, it looks very challenging, right? So therefore, you have given it as an option.
Okay, sir.
Otherwise,
Thank
it is not. See, you should be able to, you should be very easily able to download the already created list or already created information in the that is from the application, right? So whenever you create some information, for example, when you create some cards, okay, all the cards created for that user login can be easily downloaded. Okay, so that feature can be implemented. Okay, what takes time is importing. Okay, so so based on the time that you have and based on what requirements, I mean, based that you have done the core requirements and recommended requirements, then you can move on to optional. Okay, and if the time permits, you can do this thing, import and export.
Okay, sir. So it will be for a particular user download.
Yeah, it will be for a particular user.
Okay.
I mean, again, you can decide for that, right? So see, importing and exporting doesn't have to do anything with the application. It will have, I mean, it will only take into consideration the database. Okay, if you are exporting the list, all the lists that are there in the database will be exported. Now, if you want a particular, I mean, only those lists to be exported that belongs to a particular user, you have to code for that. I mean, you will have to write some logic so that it will export only those. Some filtering has to be done. So this is an operation on database rather than the application itself.
Okay, sir.
Okay, yeah. Yes, Satyam. Right.
Sir, can you please switch to the recommended section slide?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sir, here was showing that APIs for interaction with list and cards and validation. So, can you please throw some light on it?
Okay, no, so see, the thing is there are two things, right? APIs and validation, which are recommended, but not the core requirement, right? So when we talk about APIs, we can create APIs that perform CRUD operations on list, right? Creating a list. So whenever I open a dashboard, what I should see the number of lists. Now, sending this GET request to the database, retrieving the list, and showing it on the data, showing it on the screen, that is front end, can be either done by the controller of class or the APIs, right? So if you are doing with the controller and not the APIs, that is also fine because that is not, we are not bothered about how you are retrieving the data. Okay, and but we are just bothered about the thing is done. The CRUD operation on list is done. Whether it's done with or without API is something that is not our concern. Okay, if you create APIs, you will be, you will be getting some bonus. That's it. Okay, so this is about APIs. Okay, validation is like, so here, let's say I create a login form. I say name, username and password. Okay, so whenever I put username and password, and if I say, if your application, after entering a password, say that, okay, your password should be 8-digit long, it should have some numerical character. This is about validation, which is important, which is very good for creating good passwords, but it is not required for the application. All right. So that's why this again comes into recommended part. Okay. So you can perform some validation on the input fields. Okay. Now there can be two validation. One directly by the form which HTML provides you, or the other one is writing this validation, creating your own validation in the code that happens at the controller side. Okay. That is backend validation. Okay, so this is something that you can work on. Whether it is required or not, you can simply put numbers in place of string. Okay, no issues. Okay, in the input fields. Getting what
Okay,
is
sir. So, Yes, sir. For API, for routing, we can either use APIs or we can use controllers.
Correct. That's
Sir,
what. So see, you are performing CRUD operations, right? So CRUD operations on
yes,
list
sir.
can be performed with controller, can be performed with APIs. Correct.
Okay,
So
sir.
you have
So
to
it
choose
is up
one
to
and
us. Okay.
yeah, it's
And
up to
sir,
you.
for validation, if 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 we are trying to validate on the front end, like on the user page, so in order to do that, we have to use JavaScript, and we haven't learned JavaScript
No,
so
that's not
good yet.
right. See, some certain validation like required field, okay, deactivated, activated. There is the HTML form provides you a lot of validations. Okay, you have to go through HTML form validation. Okay, so that is front end validation. Okay, yeah, definitely it is done with, it can be done with the help of JavaScript. That becomes modern. So you don't have to use JavaScript. But without JavaScript, can it be done? Yeah, to some extent it can be done. Okay. If not, if you are really worried, okay, I don't have any idea about how it is done using HTML itself, go with the backend validation, right? You can do that using Python.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what validations do we expect generally? There is an @ sign in the email ID, right? Username is this, a password is these many letters long. Okay, password should have a numerical character. You don't need a very high level JavaScript for that.
Sir, a little bit of JavaScript is allowed, right?
Yeah, definitely. See, for example, for creating the chart, many would go with matplotlib, but many of them will also go with chart.js, right? Chart.js. So it's not a crime using JavaScript, but a lot of JavaScript where you can, where you use JavaScript more than it is taught in the, or more than it is discussed anywhere in the course will not be a good idea. Okay, certain small amounts of JavaScript here and there just to add some dynamicity to the application is definitely allowed. No issues with that.
So, sir, whether we use controllers for routing or we use APIs, uh, these these will be graded as the same marks, na? As far as I am
Correct.
concerned.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
for using APIs, we will get more marks, and for using controllers, we will get less marks. There is nothing like that, na?
No, it's not like that. So you will see there is one component whether you can create a new list. Okay, yes or no, right? How are you creating that new list is something that we'll check later. Okay, if you are using controller, well and good. If you are using APIs, you will get the same mark, but you will be eligible for bonus. Okay, you will be eligible for bonus. It's not like more marks or less marks. Okay, it's about feature wise, whether you have done it or not.
So like
Okay.
controller here means is that the app or what is the controller for API?
No, so controller is different. API is different.
API, can it be a standalone as we do it in like week 6 of lab assignment?
Yeah, definitely. It can be. If you are creating API and not using it in an application, that is also fine.
So in that case, we'll have two independent programs for the same logic, one for API and one for the.
No, not like that. You have to see if you create an API, document it. Right? Instead of creating a different program altogether, document it so that we can test whether your API is giving the same results or not.
Yeah, but in my app cannot be used that, right? If I'm using
doesn't
the
matter.
API.
That's what doesn't matter. See, if you are creating, see what happens is if you are creating API and you want that want your application to use the API, you have to create only one application. Okay. If you want to create controller, you have to create one application. Okay. If you want to create controller, also, I mean, if you want to create an application that does not use API, then you have to create both APIs and controller both.
Yeah, that is fine, right? API through that as in lab 6 assignment, and the controllers like screen app. It's two different thing, right?
Screen app. What is
no,
screen app?
like as in we see in that wireframe. That and the API
Yeah,
will be
but
different.
that's what. So you can create APIs and use them to show the screen app, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
You can do that, right? So that's what. So if you are creating APIs, it would be better to use the API for the application. It would be better. It's not that it is required. Okay. Rather, what you can do, create an application that uses controller, which shows your application, which has a UI. Okay. And if you want, I mean, if you want yourself to get eligible for this, I mean, you want to do this API, you're really interested, you create APIs and use those APIs using the documentation or Insomnia, whatever you do.
Okay.
Okay, that is completely fine, no issues. Only that it will have an additional effort of creating the APIs also.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Right? Yeah. So if you're able to use this API in the application, it is best, but it is not required. Otherwise, you will have to now, change everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's fine, right? You understood?
Sir, there is third point, additional APIs for getting stats, trend lines. For
Yeah,
this,
that's what.
it will
This
return
is
only
this
the
is
data.
chart.txt. Yes.
Sir, will it return only the data or something
No,
else?
no, it's like see, if you want to add style, you use Bootstrap. Okay, how do you use Bootstrap? How do you make sure your HTML file uses Bootstrap? You link it with your application, right? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Right. So that is what. So what do we say? You are using Bootstrap API for your application. You don't download Bootstrap. You just link the Bootstrap link to your application or to your HTML file. So that is Bootstrap API. Okay. Now, if you're using chart.js to create your trend lines and stuff, you're using additional APIs for creating the trend lines.
Sir, I am using Matplotlib for plotting the
Completely
chart.
fine. No issues.
Sir, whenever
That's good.
I
It's not like
am clicking on summary button, summary page, then it is showing errors for the second time. First time it is showing the graph, and next time when it generates the figure, it is showing some error.
Okay, so I mean, cannot say what it is showing, how is it showing from just saying that, okay, it's generating error. You have to put some screenshot, right? So that I get the reference of what is actually happening. Okay, you can put it on
Okay, I will
Discourse.
post it in
Yeah, you put it on Discourse and we'll try to answer from there.
Sir, can you go to slide number 8?
Okay.
Sir, in this, the fourth point is ability to move cards between task lists. This is the same as the drag and drop functionality.
No, not like drag and drop, but it's like the movement that we were discussing about, right? So cards between lists is movement of one card from one group of cards to another group of cards. That is movement of card from one list to another list. It's not drag and drop. It will have a lot many additional UI functionality. It will become UI heavy.
So this is a core. This is a core requirement.
No, it is. No, it's not actually not required as such.
Okay.
Okay, we have given it in the board. Ability to add or manage a card. So this is like about the CRUD of list, CRUD of card. Okay, so you have created a dashboard. You have created or incorporated all the CRUD operations for a list. You have incorporated all the CRUD operations for a card. Okay, these are the core requirements. Okay, and then you have to identify it manually, right? You can say that, okay, this task is completed, this task is not completed. Okay, with the help of trend lines, graphs, whatever. Okay, ability to move cards from between task and list is something that is not exactly the core requirement. Is not something that we. If you can do it, well, no.
Okay, thank you so much.
So this core, I mean, see this core requirement. This you have to focus on the board, the dashboard. Okay, that is core. This fourth point is not the core.
Okay, thank you.
This is just the list of what can be added as a part of books. Yeah. So
to add to the point like the move cards thing. So it, if we want to add it, like it will be just a button. Like when we click it, we can, or we can drop down and select what, in what list we want to transfer it, right?
Correct. Correct. But you have to think about the logic that it becomes that it goes out from being a part of one list and then moves to another list, right? You should have. I mean, you have to think about the logic of that.
And the logic will be in the background rather than in the HTML file, right?
Definitely, definitely. Okay. Yeah. And anything else? Abhishek, are you back?
Yes, Adarsh.
Yeah, so Abhishek, there was one doubt. Let's say somebody doesn't want to complete their project this term. Okay. So they will I mean they will have to do the project next term with a different question statement, right?
Correct. Yes.
But will they be re-registering for the theory course also, or that will be fine?
No, now both the theory and project courses have been separated out, so they just need to register for the project course in the next.
Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, those who had asked this doubt, this is the clarification, right? So you can I mean, so since you're not doing the project this time, you'll have to re-register manually for the project in the next term. And there is no requirement for redoing the theory. All right. Other things is like giving the links for the cookies and session that I'll do on this.
Sir, in this project structure that you're going to mention this course, like we'll get the view idea about how to submit the API as well as the control of part of it.
Sorry, Shashi, I was not able to hear you clearly. What was the question again?
The project structure that we are going to post it in this course, like we'll know how to submit the API we were asked, right?
Project structure that I'm going to put on this course. Sorry, what project structure? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Adarsh, you are.
Shashi, can you repeat? What is the project structure you're talking?
And I was not able to understand that. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, he has texted the chat. Then the project submission structure, we will get to know how we can submit the API part. Okay, so see, there are the API part that you are submitting. There will be two things. One is the API file, okay, the resource file or whatever you call it. There will be another Python file that you create, or if you are creating the entire project in the single file, there will be a section where which will contain API. Okay. Now, if you're not using this APIs in your application, I mean, not loading information with the help of APIs, you should be able to document it so that we test your APIs. Okay, because if an examiner asks you whether you have created APIs or not, and you agree to that, okay, that I've created API, you should be able to show that and it would be better if you document that because it will be easy for you to show and explain what the API does, right? That is the thing, to be sure. All right, so the project structure should have two things. One is the actual resource for the API, the resource.py or whatever you call it. And second thing, the YAML file, which will have the documentation code, right? Which you will load it on whatever Insomnia or Swagger UI and test, run your APIs and that's it. That is only the structure we expect. Okay. All right. And one more thing, Abhishek, there was a student was facing, I mean, he has followed all the, what we say, all the guidelines of how to validate the submission, but was still getting error in submission. I mean, validation.
In the validation Google form?
Yeah, yeah.
What was the issue? Which flag was failed?
Let me see if it's there. I think it's not there, but it was like parent structure or parent folder not there, something like that.
Okay. So that means there is not a single project root folder for that particular submission.
Yeah, so I mean, he was asking whether if we can give a dummy structure and put it on underscore so that they can follow and try the submission.
Okay. All right, so we can create one dummy zip file and can share the link for it on the Discord.
Yeah, that's what. So that's what I suggested. I guess he left the meeting. So yeah, so we'll try to do that on Discord. And I'll also, and some people were asking the links to the solver instructor session, which I'll put on the Discord. Okay. Any other doubt on students? No, the project course registration won't be an issue. Okay. Yeah. So any other doubt regarding the project? Okay, so I think we've tried to clear most of your doubts, but if still there is any doubt that persists, you can post it on Discord and we'll try to clear. If there is a part in the code where you're facing some issues, you can rather put the screenshot of your errors and that screenshot of the error and the thing that you're trying to do. It would not be advisable to put the entire code on the Discord, right? And we'll try to solve your issues on Discord. Okay, so I think there are no other doubt. Yeah, thanks, Shashi. Yeah, so I think there are no other doubts based on what we have discussed currently. So in that case, I guess it will be okay to end the session formally, right?
I guess others just wanted to give a general suggestion.
Yeah, Abhishek, go ahead.
Yeah, so I would suggest you to please avoid the plagiarism as much as possible from your end. Because there might be very strict actions that can be taken against such submissions or such students. So I don't want any one of you to be a victim of that. So as I mentioned, don't try to copy anyone's code. Don't try to share your project code with anyone else. Does not matter whether the other person is a student of this program or not. So you better keep your code to yourself until and unless your Viva is not. Yeah, that's it, Adarsh.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Abhishek. All right, so I think that would be it from my side too. So I think it would be a good time to formally end the session. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. And I'll just stop share at this point. All right, thanks for joining. And for any other doubt, you can definitely put your question on Discord and try to clear as far as we can. Okay, thanks, everyone. Yeah.